So good morning. Today we are going to see about C programming language. So why we go for a C programming language? C programming language is a one which communicates with the system and the user. It tries to interface, that is whatever the program, whatever the idea logically a particular user has, that particular idea can be converted into a program. So that program can be compiled and then we can get it as an output. For that, the language which is very flexible and initially was very much comfortable was C programming language. This C programming language is a very good language in sense it's a middle level language. So we know what is low level language, what is high level language. So this C comes under middle level language. So now let us see the basic information under C programming language. C is basically a middle level language and it is a very comfortable language in terms of programming and also architecture wise. It is architecture dependent. In system wise it is very architecture dependent, and we'll start, before moving into all those theory part, I'll just concentrate upon the programming part first, then we'll move into those details. First let us see the structure of a C program. Any program, if a person has to write in C, it has to be in this structure only. So what is that structure? The initial structure, we call it as documentation section. Documentation section. What is documentation section? It is the section where we try to say what we are going to do in that program. So if I am going to write a C program to add two numbers, I will be talking in this documentation section. I will tell about what those can be converted as, the documentation section can be converted as this words, in terms of words we can put it in double slash and we can say it as adding of two numbers. So this is first part. So the next part is going to be preprocessor section. Preprocessor section. What is preprocessor section? The section where I have to say what are the files. See, there are some inbuilt files in C. Inbuilt files can have some extensions like .h. .h means header file. So we are going to deal with header files which are all necessary for writing this program. So they are all inbuilt. I said already it's a pre-written files which are inside the system, right? So we are going to give, for example, the syntax is hash include stdio.h. This is how we get for preprocessor section. Hash include. Include keyword tells you that you are going to include some header files. So what are the header files we are going to include? stdio, standard input output. So standard input output .h, header files. What is input? What is output? See, for example, I want to get some data from the keyboard. If I want to get a data from the keyboard, I need a function which takes it as an input. That function only we give here as I, input. We take that input from the keyboard. So that I can give in C as scanf. Scanf function is the one which helps me to take the input from the keyboard. So the input from the keyboard can be of different types. So we'll be seeing about data type next. So of the different types, for example, if I am trying to take an integer, so if I am trying to take an integer data, then I will be giving here %d and I am going to give here ampersand a, for example. Then we'll close it with a semicolon. So this is the input function. So I input some data in A, any integer, for example 10. That 10 will be considered only with the help of the format specifier, that is percentage D. So similarly, this is for I. Now let's go for O. O is nothing but output. So we go for a function called printf. Printf is nothing but, it belongs to what file? Header file. So this .h contains scanf and printf. Why I am including this header file here? Because I am going to use in my program the scanf and printf. Even if I want to use only printf also, I have to include this header file. So how we are going to write here hello? For example, I want to print hello. So it will be printing me hello. Now suppose I want to give here printf the value of this A. Just I can give A alone. This A value, whatever we have taken from the keyboard, that can be printed over here. A. So this is how we can have here, and we can give here the next part. We can use format specifier also to print A. In sense it will print only A. I want to print the value of A, then I can give printf percentage D A. Right? There I can just print the variable A. Here I can print percentage D comma A. So the value of A will be replaced, and so we will be printing the value of A. So we have seen two sections, documentation section and preprocessor section. Then we have something known as definition section. Definition section. So what do you mean by definition section? See, I want to define, for example, hash define A10. So this 10 will be replaced, the A will be replaced with the 10 all throughout my entire program. So that's what I give here as what? Hash define. So this is optional. Whenever I want, I can use this. That's what we give here as definition section. Then we have something known as global declaration section. What do you mean by global declaration section? That is globally, from the name. Above the program, wherever I have sub-functions outside I am writing, all those functions, this global declaration can be used. For example, before the main, if I give int A, I assign as 10 or something, that int A equal to 10 will be used all throughout my entire program. That's what we call it as what? Global declaration. Then comes our main program. So any C program starts with what? Main. So main function is something where you try to compile, that is beginning. The program begins only here. So your compiler starts compiling from what? From the main. Then we try to write inside. See, in C program, we need to give a curly braces. Curly braces has to be given whenever you start the program, and whenever you close it, we have to give a opening curly braces and closed curly braces. So we are going to start the program. So we are going to give here open curly braces. Then we have here declaration section. See, already we had a declaration section. That declaration section we can have outside also. That's what we call it as global declaration. This is local declaration. Why we call it as local declaration? Because it's inside the main. So we call it as local declaration. Then we have here definition section. What do you mean by definition section? We try to define whatever I have declared here, for example A or B, whatever values I have declared, those things can be defined in definition section. Defined in sense, I give a meaning to it. For example, here I will say only int a. But here what I will say for the definition, a is equal to 10. I try to give some meaning to it. B is equal to 20. Then we will try to analyze those variables, the data, whatever we want to do, we can do it with the different operators. Right? Then we have here, we close here the curly braces and then we stop the program. So with this we will try to, we have just given an introduction into what? The basic structure of a C program. So let me write a small C program. So you will understand how all these sections are coming into picture here. Right? A small program. For example, what did I tell you? First one is documentation section. So documentation section, adding of, I said we have to give here double line slash add two numbers. Right? Then we have hash include stdio.h. Right? So as I said, after documentation section, we have what? The global declaration we are not going to use over here. So we are right away using after the documentation section, we move into preprocessor section. Then we have here the main. From this main, we try to start the program. I said from main only a program starts. So we have here declaration int a, comma b, comma c. So I have added how many? I have added 3 variables a, b and c. Now this is what section I said? Declaration section. Now we are trying to assign values. Definition. A is equal to 10, B is equal to 20, C is equal to A plus B. Then we try to print this value. See, I have purposely I have assigned the values. I have not taken as input from the keyboard. I have assigned the values A equal to 10, B equal to 20 automatically. So C is equal to A plus B. Now we are going to print the value of C. Printf percentage, before giving percentage, we will just give here sum. Sum is sum percentage D, comma C. Semicolon. Everything should end with a semicolon. So you have here printf sum percentage D C. So I can give here a colon also to show in my output. Sum is nothing but 10 plus 20, 30. So 30 will be here, sum 30. My output will be like, how will be my output? Sum 30. This will be my output. So this is a simple C program where you can see the documentation section, preprocessor section, main where your program starts, declaration section, then we have what? Definition section. In the definition section only we finally use what? Printf. Now, for example, if I don't want here A is equal to 10 directly, always if I run this program, my output will be 30 only. There cannot be any change in the output. If I want to change the output, I have to change this value what I have assigned. So let me now take the value from the user itself. Get the value from the user dynamically. Whenever I run the program, I want to take the value from the user. So in that case, I can give here printf enter a value. I am telling enter a value. Enter a value. So scanf, I said scanf is what? For getting the input from the user. Scanf percentage D ampersand A. So if I want to give a line space, I can give /n here. slash n here. So it will go for a new line, the next value. So scanf percentage d ampersand a. So first value, when I run the program, automatically a value will be dynamically given by the choice of the user. Then what we can do here? Again we can do here a small change. B value also we can get it from the user. So how I can get the B value from the user? Same thing to be repeated. Printf enter B value slash n scanf. B value, again I have to use the scanf, then only I can get the value from the keyboard. Percentage d. Since why we are using percentage d? Because it's a integer value. I have declared here it as an integer value. Percentage d comma ampersand b. Now we can give it as c is equal to a plus b. The same thing we have done previously. So here also we are doing the same thing, but the four statements here what I have given is only the difference. Previously what we have done? We have just assigned and just added this, and now what we are going to do? Same thing repeated. Printf, the sum is, what is the sum? Here we have to give the percentage d. Percentage d c. So the sum comes here. So this is a simple program. In two ways we have written. One is assigning values a and b, and then we have given printf scanf again for two different variables, and then we will try to add it and print the value. So this is how we generally write a C program. Any C program, hereafter you whatever complex programs you write, everything has to be with this basic structure. That's what we call this as structure of a C program. Hope you all can follow this. Now I will move on into the different data types what we have. So because I have written here percentage d. Let's see some data types. What are the types? See, we human being, when we see a number, we call it as a number. If I see ABC, I will call it as a character. But a system has to be told what kind of data it is receiving. That's what we have here, data types. So the first data type what we are going to use is integer. Integer can be represented as int, right? Then we have character. I'm going to give only the basic data types, not moving into the details. This basic data type is enough to write simple programs. Maximum programs you can write with these data types. Character, char. Then we have float. Float can see float is represented as float only. So I will also give here the format specifiers. What are the format specifiers we'll use for all these things parallelly? Here we use percentage d, here we use percentage c, here we use percentage f. Okay. Next is double. Double can be given as double only, and we can give percentage LF. So these are the basic data types which we are going to use in our program. Can you understand? So what is the structure of a C program? What are the different data types available in a C program? And what are the control structures available? That is also very important. See, I cannot keep on assigning and giving some statements. I have to do some manipulations. When I want to do some manipulations, I need some control structures. So what are the control structures available? We'll see that also shortly. What are the control structures available? So control structures. So what are the control structures available? See, first initially I have if control. If control. What do you mean by if? If, for example, if I want to write a program, whether the particular person is eligible to vote or not, whether they can vote or not, how can I solve that in C program? Then I will go for something called as if we'll give here the condition, the condition will be given over here, open bracket and close bracket. So this is going to be the syntax. So if give a condition, if it is true, it will come here, otherwise it will go. It will not print anything else. That is how we have here. So if age is less than 18, not eligible to vote, just print if not eligible. That's all. So here we have something else also called if else. If else condition, the same syntax follows here. Here we give here if something else, give some other condition, statements over here. Here we give some statements, here we give some statements. So here if age is less than 18, printf not eligible, otherwise else printf eligible to vote. So this is a small condition statement. So now see, since we have, this can be equalized to another way also, in another way. If I have only one statement in a particular control structure, then we need not have this curly braces. In a structure of a C program, curly braces is a must. But in case of main, here it is a condition, if condition, only one statement I have written. If only one statement to be written, there is no requirement of curly braces. So I can take out this curly braces also from here. So this is equal to the previous program with the curly braces. Where you will be using curly braces? Wherever you feel that the number of statements are more than one statement, then there is a must for using of curly braces. So this is if condition. Next if else we saw. Now we can, there are nested if also. Nested if, what do you mean by nested if? If condition, okay. So if this is true, again we go for one more condition. If this is true, again we are planning to check for one more condition. Again if this is true, again I am planning to check for one more condition. So like this I will try to check for n number of conditions. Inside one if I will use the other if. So the main if only closes over here. Within that we have a sub if, and within that we have a sub if. So this is nested one inside the other. So we call this as what? Nested if. Similarly we have nested else also. Same concept over there. Now let us see another control structure called while. While. See, if I want to print a particular statement one time, what I can do? Printf I can give hello. For example, hello I want to print only once. Print. Then I want to print it for 10 times. Then I want to print it for 100 times. How many print I have to write? How many print functions I have to write? Printf function for 100 times I have to write. To avoid that, the wastage of space, you have to write 100 times printf. To avoid that, we went for something called as looping conditions. These are all looping control structures. Looping control structures. Till now, if else, all these things are not loops. But hereafter, what we are going to see is nothing but looping statements. So here while we give some condition, that is while I is less than 10, I is equal to 0. For example, I am going to assign I is equal to 0, I less than 10. Yes, I is less than 10. If this is true, then we are going to print 10 times we are going to print hello. Now under looping, we have something called as while. So while some condition we give and then we close the loop. This is the syntax for while. So we give here I is equal to 0, I less than 10, printf hello. And then here I is equal to I plus 1. So what happens? I value gets incremented every time, and when I value becomes 10, it comes out of the loop. So this is how we see here in case of while. So the same thing, if I want to use do while, what will happen? Here I will give do and then I will write the statements, then I will give the while condition. So generally we use only while, so I am talking about while over here. Next we will see about for loop. For loop. So why we go for loop? Generally see we go for another looping statement only if the current one has some negative point. So what is the negative point in while? See, I have used the number of statements what I have used is more. So I have to reduce that. If I want to reduce that, then I will go for while. For I is equal to 0, I less than 10, I plus plus. Here printf hello. Right? So previously what we have written in while, I is equal to 0, while I less than 10, I less than 10, printf hello, I is equal to I plus 1. This is how previously we have written. So how many lines it takes? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 lines. But here 1, 2, 3, 4. So which one will go naturally? We will go for the one which has what? Less number of code. So we always choose for loop comparatively with what? While loop. So that is what the main advantage here. So we will also see one more example, that is switch case. Switch case. Switch, you give the variable here I. So I, for example, we are going to give it as 1. Case 1, printf, it's Monday. Brick. Again case 2, printf, it's Tuesday. Like this I can give n number of cases and give break. So whichever option I want, I'll jump over it and then it will stop. Finally we'll go for something called as default. If any of these things are not matching, then this is a colon. Then we have here printf, there is something wrong. Wrong input. Wrong input. So this is how we go for switch case. So if any one of these cases is wrong, then it will jump into the default statement. So what are the things we have seen today? We have seen about, what are the things we saw today in today's lecture? Initially we saw what is C program, what is the structure of C, then we saw the data types. What are the data types we have taken? What are the data types? 4 different data types: int, float, character and double. Then what we saw? Simple C programs we have seen in that. And then we saw about control structures, if conditions, while, do while, for, and we have seen switch case. So I hope you have understood the small introduction of C program. Thank you so much. These programs can be done again and again by yourself in the system. You have many online compilers today for C, so you can start doing it and you will get used to it. Thank you.